Check, check, 1, 2. Call the meeting to order. A public meeting, Texas Academic Performance Reports of the Marlin Independent School District will be held February 5th, 2024, beginning at 5 p.m. in the Marlin Middle School Library, 678 Success Drive, Marlin, Texas. A live stream and recording of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district's YouTube channel. The subjects to be discussed or considered or upon which any formal action may be taken are listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on the meeting notice. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Okay, we'll have the roll call. Ms. Ehlers? Present. Ms. Ryla Huber? Present. Coach Johnson would be absent. Ms. Demerson would be absent, and Berlin Terry will be present. Okay, we have a quorum. Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, please, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Next, we'll have the presentation of the 22-23 Texas Academic Performance Report.
Good evening, Board Member Mrs. Terry and Board members. Tonight we will have the public hearing for the paper report by Mrs. Nikki Edwards.
Good evening, Board of Managers, Superintendent Henson. You can have data without information, but you cannot have information without data. And so I present to you our taper from the 22-23 school year. One thing that I want to point out about our taper for this particular year is this is a baseline year for us. There were significant changes to the testing with the constructive responses being added to our science and our social studies tests, as well as writing being added to all of the tests across the board. We also went from an online to a completely digital format. And so I am going to show the data in our year-to-year comparison as the taper does. I'm also going to show it in cohort, but please keep in mind this data is being used as our baseline data so that we can grow from there. And so I have highlighted, and I know there's just a wall of numbers up there, but I have highlighted areas year to year. Whenever I stand up and I talk to you all about data, I talk about how we do not like to talk about year to year. Those are two different sets of students, and so that growth is not really a fair comparison, whereas looking at how I did in 6th grade reading versus how I now did in 7th grade reading is a more comparable comparison. However, this is how the state of Texas unfolds it, and so I present it to you here. The green are areas where from year to year there was growth, and the orange is where there was a decrease from year to year. So you see growth in both 3rd grade reading and 3rd grade mathematics, and we did have a decline from year to year in both 4th grade reading and 4th grade mathematics. Additionally, that is your 5th grade reading and your 5th grade mathematics. There were some slight decreases, and then in your 6th grade reading, you did see jumps. And do you see that huge jump, Ms. Ehlers, over there with ABEL from 33 to 76? Okay, I was very proud of that. I wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you. It's a big jump. We were very proud of that. And so 6th grade mathematics, ooh, who was the math teacher last year? So you did see year-to-year growth from 6th grade mathematics. You did see it from 7th grade reading and 7th grade mathematics, year-to-year growth. However, 8th grade did pose a challenge. Those are our current 9th graders. And so from year to year, we decreased in 8th grade reading, math, science, and social studies. There was also a decrease from that 8th grade reading test to the English 1 test in 9th grade. You had an increase from your English, in your English 2 year to year, and then there were some slight decreases in our Algebra 1 and our end of course biology. Now to look at it how we like to look at it, which is based off of our cohorts. Again, it's still kind of apples to oranges in the fact that I'm comparing how my students did a third grade reading test to a fourth grade reading/writing test, digital. However, you did see some slight decreases, but they did hold pretty steady at Marlin Elementary in reading, and then you see cohort gains across the middle school from 6th grade, 7th grade to 8th grade. And then again, we did have a decrease in 8th grade to English 1 from the cohort and English 1 to English 2. I did make a note that that 59% for 23 is not going to match the number that's on the taper, because the taper shows all students who took the English 1 exam, whether they were a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. So it does include repeaters, whereas that 59 represents our 9th graders who were first-time English 1 testers.
And board members, keep in mind that despite being a different test, the area of regression, especially in elementary school, it's a 1% drop from 50 to 49, 61 to 60. So that's literally less than one child.
Yes.
Depending upon, so I guess it's like half a kid's arm and part of their leg.
In 2022, is that 76% for 8th grade to English 1?
That's when those students were in 8th grade, they were 76 on that reading test. And then last year, those students were 9th graders taking the English 1 test.
Okay, that
Yes.
explains it. Thank you.
Absolutely. In mathematics, you see cohort growth from 3rd to 4th, from 4th to 5th, even though it was moved to an online test, and they had features on that they had never seen before, except for the interim exams. That was their only practice until they took the STAR. You saw decreases from 5th to 6th and 6th to 7th in the cohort, and then you again saw the increases again from 7th to 8th and 8th to Algebra 1. Again, that Algebra 1 number, 73%, does not match the taper, because I'm representing the 9th grade students who that was their first time taking the Algebra 1 test, as opposed to the taper showing any student who took Algebra 1 test that had to repeat the test.
And so it's one thing to point again, so math has continued to be a strong point here in the district. Despite tests changing, there are 6 areas of growth, and we show growth in 4 out of the 6 areas. So once again, we'll continue to put our focus in on reading, literacy, reading, and more reading. And we look forward to hopefully continuing to show those gains that are going in the correct direction.
Absolutely. And so what is our focus? One of our major challenges was the switch from it being a reading test exclusively to a balanced literacy test with reading and writing online, and bracing ourselves for that. And so it's going to take a little bit of time as we have implemented our writing structures for it to kind of matriculate up to the tested area. We put a lot of focus in our pre-K, K1 and 2. And now that they are starting to join our testing ranks, you are going to see a change. But what are we doing this year? We are integrating more what I call accountable writing through our online platforms, which is Canvas, Google Classroom, and our TXVSN. What I love about this is there is no opt-out. Whereas teachers might have had to go home with pounds of papers and then go through it and give feedback and give it back to the student and get it back. Now they do it directly in Canvas, which is, it's a university platform. They do it directly in Canvas. The teacher has all of the submissions right in front of them. They can give immediate feedback. The student gets it. And so there is no, I didn't do it, or I didn't get your feedback, or I can't implement the feedback. It is immediate in the classroom. And so that is a program that we just started, and I'm extremely excited about it. We're also going to increase our math practice with manipulating the features in our online platform. So we did a lot of paper pencil last year, even though we knew it was a digital test. We did not have access to those digital changes except for on the interim exams. But now those platforms have caught up. iReady, Mastery Connect, DMAC have caught up with the different features that TEA uses on their testing. And so our students get weekly, if not daily in some classes, practice on manipulating the features in that platform. And then, of course, we're going to increase our monitoring support, improvement of our students who receive special education services and our emergent bilingual and EL services, and that being able to, using those platforms to extract that data to kind of look at those students as if they were their own school and how they are monitoring. It helps us disaggregate it a little bit better and offer more concentrated supports individually to students. We also have a consultant that works with us, Ms. Charo, who is phenomenal. She is pulling out our students who are emergent bilingual students and working with them hands-on specifically in the content that they need. So it's not kind of blanketed whole group services, but you specifically need help in reading third grade fiction passages. So I'm sitting down with you in a third grade fiction passage and giving you what you need. Are there any questions?
What about eighth grade science and social studies? I see some drops there.
Yes, there were some drops in eighth grade science and social studies. And so right now we have 2 content experts, one that is completely rendering the instruction in our eighth grade science. She is a part of my team, Dr. Garcia Arnold. And so she's kind of half-time coach, and then the other half-time, she is their full-time teacher. We have seen significant gains on our common assessments in that area, and so I always present common assessment data, so I'll be standing up in front of you in a month or so from now showing you kind of those trends. And then in eighth grade social studies, she is a brand new teacher in full transparency. However, the other leader on my team, Miss Lindy Mitchell, is a content expert in social studies, and she stays supplanted. While she's not the teacher of record, she has to come every week with data, their demonstrations of learning that they have to do each day. We craft those together. She gets them approved by me, and then she brings the data. So when she comes in our weekly meetings, is highly accountable. Hey, Ms. Edwards, they had to, write about the American Revolution, and 43% met the metric. Okay, that's unacceptable. What are we doing prior to the common assessment to fix that? And then she always has a plan in place. And so I look forward to presenting those numbers as soon as we take our next common assessment.
And board members, for those 2 tests in particular, I went and asked a few kind of the hand-picked students who are now in 9th grade who I trust, and they were saying that it was just that writing on the test was brand new. Years past, you would circle the letter C or B or move on. And so we now know we have to do a more focused job on allowing them to be able to write the responses to the various questions. So no longer can you just circle C, you have to explain why you're circling C. So working with our faculty and staff to make sure that they can not only analyze, but explain and articulate their analysis, which is a skill all in itself.
I had a feeling that might be part of the problem. When they
Yes.
throw that writing in there like never before, it
Yes.
does become an issue.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
And this does conclude Mrs. Edwards' presentation.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
There were none posted.
Okay, thank you. And so the time being 5:12, the meeting's adjourned. Okay. Ready to move on to the next one? Okay. Next, I'll call the meeting to order. A board workshop meeting of the Marlin Independent School District will be held February 5th, 2024, beginning at 5 in the Marlin Middle School Library, 678 Success Drive, Marlin, Texas. A live stream and recording of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district's YouTube channel. The subjects to be discussed are considered or upon which any formal action may be taken or listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on the meeting notice. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Okay, we'll have the roll call. Ms. Ehlers? Present. Ms. Radelhuber?
Present.
Coach Johnson? Ms. Demerson? And Berlin Terry, I'm here. So, should we do another Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. We'll skip number 5 and number 3 and number 4. And do we have any public comment?
There were none posted.
Okay, thank you. Next item, number 6, will be the new board member introduction.
Board member, Mrs. Terry, and members of the board, Marlin ISD would like to officially and formally introduce our new board members. Mrs. Radelhuber, welcome back to Marlin ISD, and in her absence, Mrs. Demerson. And we are very excited to welcome you back to the board. The plan of TEA, as we get back to a full 7-member board, was to bring on 2 members at the end of January. And speaking with the commissioner last week, we're all very excited about just the future of the district and, of course, of you all's leadership and guidance. So Mr. Bustamante has some Marlin ISD gifts for you as a welcome back to Marlin ISD.
Thank you. It is an honor to be able to serve on your board, and I am very thrilled with the progress that this district has made.
Okay, thank you. Item 7 will go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, deliberation of personnel matters. Okay, we're back in open session at 6:11. Next, we'll have the superintendent's report.
Good evening, Mrs. Terry and members of the board. Tonight, we'll begin the superintendent's report with the bond 2022 update.
Good evening, board member Mrs. Terry, members of the board, Dr. Henson. The district continues to have meaningful conversations with all of our stakeholders and vendors just to ensure a successful project delivery for our bond 2022 projects. Few updates for the bond projects. So the stadium electrical upgrades, this project was posted again on January 22nd, and bids are due February 13th for this project. So we're hopeful that we will receive a bid for this project so we can continue the electrical work at Legion Field. Moving on to the high school, the contract was finalized with Target Solutions. We did have a pre-construction meeting last Thursday, so definitely excited about the work that's going to start at Martin High School. So you will start seeing a lot of traffic at the high school in the next couple of weeks. And then Legion Field, just wanted to remind the community that it's still closed and under construction. A few pictures of our press box. As you can see, we no longer have our press box. It's completely demolished. Definitely excited about that as we make way for the new press box that's coming soon. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Next, we'll have the 2024-2025 school year calendar by Mr. Norman Jones.
Good evening, board member, Mrs. Terry, members of the board, and Dr. Henson. Imagine a symphony without a conductor or a journey without a map. In the complex dance of education, the school calendar stands as the silent orchestrator, guiding the rhythm of learning and the tempo of growth. We are in the process of building the academic calendar for the 2024-2025 school year. 2 versions of this calendar will be drafted for review so that the feedback can be gathered. We are committed to ensuring that this calendar reflects our commitment to academic excellence and supports the district's academic mission. A proposed calendar will come before the board at the next board meeting. Here are the members of the district calendar committee. As you can see, we have members from the elementary campus, the secondary campus, the academics team, and the executive cabinet. Are there any questions? Moving on. Marlin ISD offers competitive salaries, stipends, and benefits for all employees. We have a compensation plan that is evaluated each year during the budget process. I will be presenting to you the 2024-2025 salary schedule updates. The first update that I would like to point out to you is in pay grade 5. We are adding a graduation specialist. This position is responsible for supporting graduation audits, implementing plans for students at risk of not graduating, including academic support and credit recovery, maintaining accurate records, and fostering a culture of high expectations and accountability. Moving on to pay grade 10. In this pay bracket, we have made updates by removing the position of literacy coach and the math coach. We will no longer have these positions in our district.
Board members, Terry, members of the board, and the reason for updating from literacy coach and math coach, we're going to readjust those, and we're going to talk about those in pay grade 11. Also, those were coming out of grant funds, and the grant funding that we received through COVID has now gone away. So we're going to shift positions from grant funded positions over to actually housed under our district budget.
Moving on to pay grade 11, we have adjusted the coordinator of student services to the coordinator of special projects to provide flexibility for the scope of duties and to meet the demands of the district. We have adjusted the position of facilitator of academics to coordinator of academics to incorporate more leadership duties. Also added in this pay grade is the position of assistant principal to further meet the needs of the district. Moving on to pay grade 12. In this pay bracket, we have made one adjustment by adding a director of academics. This person will work to oversee the development, implementation, and evaluation of our instructional programs. Moving on to the 2024-2025 stipend schedule updates, we are adding a payroll specialist to assist with the monthly payroll process, which also includes TRS, maintaining the teacher retirement system. We are also adding a stipend for a teacher leader. This position will help lead the campus, and more specifically, the grade level with instructional best practices, and will serve as a mentor for other teachers. Any questions?
What's the difference between the assistant principal role and the associate principal role?
Ms. Edwards?
So the assistant principal role is more of a focus on like the operations of the campus. They do deal heavily with attendance, discipline, and just supporting the general movement of the campus. The associate principal is, it is an elevated title. It is one that is more closely aligned to like the principal. And so they typically oversee both operations, but also instruction heavily.
This stipend for teacher leader says up to $25,000. How do you determine where the teacher will fall on that?
Ms. Edwards?
So we are working on an evaluation system right now of how we would tier our teachers to put them on a continuum. Of course, priority would go to hard to staff areas, but it would also be based off of current performance. And so the teacher's ability, based off of what they've done this year in their years of service, their ability to coach in other areas. And so it depends years of service and current performance.
So what will those teacher leaders be responsible for to earn this stipend?
They will be responsible for advancing other teachers that are kind of under their leadership. So if I'm let's just say grade band, I'm the 7th, 8th grade band teacher leader, then meeting with teachers for pedagogy, coaching. It's kind of it's a hybrid of like an instructional coach. What we found was when we did a poll of our teachers in Marlin of what they would want to do as far as promotion, most of them want to stay in the classroom. They have indicated that I want to help my peers and grow them, but still have a foot in the classroom. So it's kind of a hybrid model of part teacher, part instructional coach.
So is this will it be a tier, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that they can move up to? Or, because it said up to 25, so is it a tier, or will it be just, okay, so if you master this, then this is what you receive?
So we're still working through that, Ms. Emerson, and that will be presented to you, well, of course, presented to Dr. Henson, and then presented to you once it goes to consent, but we're still working out exactly what that looks like. But it will be layers, kind of like the steps that we have on a normal salary scale, that you can work towards it, and it'll be incremental, again, based just off of performance and where you fall as far as high needs and your ability to coach other teachers.
Board Member Ms. Terry, members of the board, so this is going to be part of our strategic staffing model for the district, because we believe in multi-classroom leaders. So we have a teacher who is a rock star teacher who we feel like they can not only serve their students, but they can help assist and coach their other teachers. That's kind of the definite vision that we have here. The reason why we're putting up to $25,000 is because we still wanted to be able to create a rubric that we feel comfortable with. Because if you're a multiple classroom leader, helping supervise one classroom versus two is a different load and a different lift. So we want to make sure that we've created fair compensation that the board feels comfortable with, but also is fair enough for the teacher for the additional classroom that they're helping to serve and lead on the campus that they serve on for next school year. Vendor contract, stadium site work, and landscaping project, Phase 1 CSP, Mr. Jesse Bustamante.
Board member, Mrs. Terry, members of the board, Dr. Henson. The vision is closer than ever as we stand on the verge of a major milestone for the Legion Field project. If approved tonight, we will set the stage for a stadium that inspires excellence. So Sanchez Driveways was selected on January 9th, 2024. The district attorney reviewed the contract, and we did finalize the contract for this project during the month of January. We were asking for consent to move forward with Sanchez Driveways. The project timeline is 6 months, and the contract amount is $500,094, $337. The scope of work for Sanchez Driveways will include earthwork, concrete work, fencing, decorative fencing, site work demolition, site cleanup, site improvements, plasma cutting, utility work, equipment rental, and of course, trash haul-off. Are there any questions?
And this is only for the stadium?
It's only for the stadium, yes, ma'am.
Board member, Ms. Terry, members of the board, I'm gonna ask for Dr. Parker to kind of give a high-level amount of where are we with the amount of funds that remain for Legion Field. Not the exact amount, because I don't want to misquote the exact number, but just kind of where we are ballpark range right now for Legion Field.
All right, good evening, Board Member Terry, members of the board. He knows I get very excited to talk about where we stand with our bond fund. So right now, as it stands for our projects, being the Legion Field proposition was 7.5, and we are still shy, just a little under 6 million remaining still with the projects that we have, and we're nearing it, which means because we have invested those funds, that have allowed us to accrue interest by having those funds in our pooled accounts, that have allowed us to do and work on any change orders or unforeseen issues, or also maybe some of those added things that the community has asked for with the project. For our high school, as Mr. Bustamante stated, that we're getting ready to begin there. That proposition was 24.5 million, and we are still sitting with the 24 million approximately with that. We've done some that included upgrades at both the elementary and middle campus, and we've done some minor projects towards that. So we are still in a great position with interest accruing weekly to support with the high school renovations as well.
Moving on to vendor contract for architectural and engineering services relating to bond 2022 projects, RFQ 2023-26. As we await the construction of a new gym for Marlin High School, the vision is within our reach as we ask for approval tonight for the vendor contract for architectural and engineering services. If approved tonight, this firm will be assisting with the construction of the new gym for Marlin High School. MRB was selected on November the 13th. The district attorney reviewed the contract. We finalized the contract during the month of January, and we're here tonight asking for consent to move forward with the contract for MRB Group. Contract amount is $171,800, and the project timeline is 15 months for this project. Scope of work will include programming, construction observation, review of construction workspace, preparing the daily field reports, reviewing the contractor pay applications, reviewing shop drawings, and then reviewing monthly schedules, and then project closeout. Are there any questions?
Where are they out of? MRB?
They're out of Temple.
Out of Temple?
Yes, ma'am.
Board member, Mrs. Terry, this does conclude the superintendent's report. Just for note for the board, the school year calendar and salary and stipend schedule, that's not up for vote tonight. We're gonna bring those to you next month. So please, any questions that you all have as it relates to salary and stipend schedules, feel free to ask myself or any member of the team, and we'll definitely get those questions answered prior to the vote at next week's board meeting. this does conclude the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Henson, do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda that was presented to us?
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, Ms. Ehlers, thank you. Second, okay, Ms. Riddle Hoover seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, any opposition? Okay, if not, the consent agenda is approved as presented, and it's 6:27, and we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
May I go back and get a sandwich?
Yeah, please go grab that food.